back in Washington. House Republicans are demanding answers on the alleged cover-up of President Joe Biden's health decline, pushing for testimony from his doctor who claimed Biden was in tip-top shape while in office.
I love that. He's got some answers.
Yeah.
You got to give us some answers. Madeline Rivera live in Washington with these very interesting details. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning, guys. So it appears House Republicans are largely picking up the investigation into former President Biden's mental and physical fitness right around where it stopped last year. The House Oversight Committee had subpoenaed 3 White House aides and requested a transcribed interview with Biden's doctor, Kevin O'Connor, last year. The panel accused the White House of obstruction. Chairman James Comer now has letters out to the same group of people demanding they appear for transcribed interviews.
We're bringing the doctor in because the doctor was the one that said that Joe Biden was competent, that he was at the top of his game, that he was a picture of health. I don't think there's anyone in America, especially anyone with a medical degree, that believes anything this doctor has said about Joe Biden publicly while he was president.
The panel is also looking into Biden's use of the auto pen. Former President Obama has used auto pen in the past, and in 2005, the Justice Department released guidance noting its use is legal, but it has become a key line of attack for Republicans, including the president.
I'm just thinking, as you say that, I just said, what about auto pens? Could I use an auto pen? What did Biden do? Did he have an auto pen at the desk?
Nuclear powered.
No, he didn't do events like that. Yeah, he used nuclear power. You know, he didn't do events like this, I guess.
As Republicans slam Democrats for allegedly helping to cover up Biden's decline, a co-host of the podcast Pod Save America is sharing this concession.
I remember feeling, I want to talk about this as a huge liability. I want to talk about this as something Joe Biden can overcome. But I'm not going to go so far as to say, I think Joe Biden must drop out. He is too old to be president. A, because I didn't know exactly what was going on behind the scenes. But B, if Joe Biden is the candidate, I want to win.
All of this comes as the Biden family works to manage his diagnosis of prostate cancer, which has spread to his bones. Charlie, Rachel, and Griff.
Thank you, Maddie.
It's a slight moment of, thank you, Maddie, slight moment of honesty there on the part of John Lovett, but
forced honesty.
Forced honesty, and also partial, like, I didn't really know. Like, we all knew. If you were watching Fox News, we were talking about the decline from the very beginning. I'm really glad that Donald Trump is bringing up the auto pen.
Yes.
We were talking off camera how he's always right on mark. That is so important. Who was actually running our government? Was it Anita Dunn? Was it Susan Rice? Was it Valerie Jarrett? Was it a combination of all these people? Pluff, we don't know, but we should know. And if they use those auto pens on pardons without Joe Biden knowing, maybe those pardons aren't valid. Maybe some of these bills that these executive orders they signed aren't valid. We need to get to the bottom of it.
Well, just imagine what you're talking about. You're talking about the most powerful leader in the world. Decisions being made without his having any idea exactly what it is, whether it's a pardon or anything else. I think also the tragic part of this whole story, as we unpack it and now are learning more and more, is really the relationship between President Biden and the First Lady, Jill Biden. And, you know, Sally Quinn, a Washington Post columnist, it's very insightful things she's now saying about, you know, whether she had her husband's best interest. But I would just want to set it up by saying, if you remember, shortly after the debate, Sally Quinn, who is married to the famous publisher of the Washington Post, Ben Bradley, she wrote an open letter in the Post to Jill Biden, said to Jill Biden, you know, and he talked about Ben Bradley's death and dementia and how she saved him and kept him out of the public eye during the 40th anniversary of Watergate. And that's what you're supposed to do when you are looking after your husband.
When you love someone
like that. But yet, here's what Sally Quinn now says about whether or not Jill Biden is to blame.
I blame Jill Biden for this. Jill Biden is his wife. And if Jill Biden had stood up and had gone to him and said, Joe, you can't do it. And if you do, you're on your own. I'm out. He wouldn't have run because he couldn't have done it without her support. I felt sorry for Joe Biden because I didn't think she was protecting him. she wasn't protecting him from himself. Right after the debate, they're in the spin room, and she got his hand up, and they're victory, victory, we won, it was great, great. And the next day, he's off in North Carolina and making a victory speech. I thought, what were they watching? I thought it was just elder abuse, really.
So here she comes up with a firm grasp of the obvious that has been obvious to a lot of people for a long time. But of course, it's after she and many people in the media spent so much time trying to cover for Jill Biden, trying to basically helping Jill Biden pull this off. But of course, a few years ago, you got into all kinds of hot water for making this observation, maybe as one of the first people to make the observation that Jill Biden was clearly using her husband for her own purposes.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw that in that 2020 election, he was in the basement. And of course, the excuse was COVID. But we all knew what was happening. They didn't want him on the campaign trail because he was going to mess up. He was going to say stupid stuff, not because he puts his foot in his mouth, but all of us could see he was losing a step. Here's what I said 4 years ago. Sally Quinn's 4 years late. Listen.
I'm sorry, as a political spouse, I can't help but look at Jill Biden. No one knew better his state of mind than Dr. Jill Biden. And if you ask me, the most patriotic thing Jill Biden could have done was tell her husband to love her husband and not let him run in this mental state that he's in. I think she failed the country as well.
But mostly, you guys, she failed her husband. And I say that because, I'm a political spouse. And one of the things you realize when you're in that position, I've been a political spouse for many, many years, 10 years when Sean was in Congress, and now I am as well. There's only one person who cares about your husband with zero agenda. And so to have not just Jill, but where were the adult children? We're learning now that Hunter Biden had a much greater role in this. So the sense I'm getting is that this family was, it wasn't just elder abuse. And I did also say that she was his visiting angel.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. It was that they were getting something out of it. Jill Biden was getting something out of trotting her husband out there when she knew it made him look bad, when she should have been trying to enjoy these final moments with him, these final days of his, while he's still lucid. Same for the kids. But of course, you can't ignore, you guys, the amount of money this family was making. That is a piece of this puzzle. The corruption, something we've never actually really gotten to the bottom of because Hunter was pardoned with an auto ban.
Well, and you weren't afraid to speak up 4 years ago and say it like it was. Which
they tried to get me fired over it.
And of course, the Bidens are sitting there watching the fortunes and fortunes and fortunes that the Obamas made off of the presidency, and they're like, "Well, where's ours?
What about us?"
And so they had to keep the cartel going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give us a call if anyone gets back to you and apologizes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that is.
I'm not going to hold my breath, Griff. But I'm not going to lie. I've been enjoying the vindication. But I've been vindicated on lots of things, from COVID on forward. So.
All right.